heat fuses things together, and you need the products that you put in your hair to keep it moisturized to fuse. If you don't do that, it will evaporate. And when you cut on hair that's been expanding for so long, for years and years, never getting heated up, because you think you're doing a good thing for it, what ends up happening is that when you go ahead and cut, even if it's dry, it will still split.
Wow.
Yeah. So you need to get the person on a regimen of protein building, either making their hair strands thicker or reorganizing the protein chains inside each individual hair strand. That way their hair becomes a normal elasticity and is able to stay together instead of split. And also not just to cut the ends, but cut wherever there is splits. Because a split end doesn't decide, oh, I'm at the end of the hair, I'm going to split. It could split wherever.
That's right.
Right? And so if you cannot see it, because you cannot distinguish between what is split and what is not, when it's straight or when it's wet or when it's puffy, you have to get it to be the most defined, moisturized, and protein, and then dry. And whatever separates from the curl is a split end. It cannot join a hydrated section. It will always stay apart. It will always dry out first. It will cause tangles the most. So when all of those things are gone, your routine is easier, detangling is easier, moisture retention is easier. You don't lose so much more shedding when you're washing your hair, because all those weeds have been taken out. We see the head more like a tree, like a bonsai tree, or like a garden, a bush. You want to remove the weeds so the flowers can grow and flourish and not be suffocated by those weeds or any of the tangles that happens in gardens. You don't want to suffocate your roses, so you remove all of those weeds. You want to shape like a bonsai tree. You want to shape for the eyes, you want to shape for the nose, you want to shape for the mouth. Well, you do it on defined hair, how they're going to wear their hair with your hair routine. And so it's so we dust first, we remove all of the split ends, and then we shape.
Wow. And so you're also talking about the blow dry. I'm wondering, how long does someone blow dry their hair for?
Until it's dry.
Until it's dry. But what if someone has really fine hair? Like, do we need the scalp to be a certain heat, like for a certain amount of time for it to like have that blood flow?
Okay, so when sometimes it could be really, really complicated when talking about using heat, because for straight hair, you want to blow dry to get every water out. We're not trying to get all the water out. We're trying to just heat up the hair so the water that's left will not change the pH of their scalp.
I see.
Because water's pH is a 7, which is alkaline. Our scalp needs to be between 4.5 and 5.5, which is acidic. And if water stays on your scalp for too long, it will increase, and that will bring on extra problems like inflammation, like dandruff, like bacterial infections. Bacteria is able to thrive in humid, wet environments. So you want to get rid of as much of the water, but maintain the level of hydration in your hair by making it curly, because your hair is able to hold on to the water molecules by fusion, because heat causes fusion.
Wow, that's amazing. I actually have always told my clients not to go to sleep with their hair wet, because I didn't know the scientific reason. I just knew that you know, the ones that do, they often have more scalp problems like psoriasis, bad
Mhm.
dandruff, smelly scalps, and things like that, right?
And the smell is bacteria.
And the smells bacteria. Because, like,
The
a
smell
lot
is
of
bacteria.
really, I feel like a lot of my Asian clients, you know, my Chinese clients, they get really oily. You know,
Yeah.
that's their nature, and that's just normal to have stinky scalp.
Yeah, it's not. It's actually not. And the thing is, so depending on where you separated and where your piece of rock went in the world, okay, the elasticity of your hair changed over thousands of years to combat with the cold. So your hair became longer or stretched out to protect your neck, your vital organs from getting cold. That way you would live a longer life. And for Asians, their hair became less elastic. It became more solid and more expanded, right? And more tubular. But there's no 100% tubular hair on the face of the planet. Um, and so that's why everyone has a variation, which means their hair is still curly. And once you heat up, you get water in their hair and you heat it up, you could actually see the pattern more. Their curls come out way more. And so they have a lower elasticity, which means their hair needs to be heated up in a certain way so that it could retain more water. And it would be easier for water to get inside their hair if they use heat. Which means when you have more moisture in your hair, your scalp balances out, and then you don't get that oily scalp. That oil is meant to protect the scalp. It's a protective mechanism. Your body is reacting to protect itself. And so a lot of people think it's just an annoyance, but it's actually trying to prevent you from the accumulation of bacteria, right? And so we need to get your scalp's pH back to acidic, which means I'm most likely going to be using apple cider vinegar. That's a pH of 3 to reduce the pH to the lowest level so you could start fighting the bacteria. You're going to have less ache right when that happens. It's like you're going to have like a sense of relief, okay,
Mm-hmm.
when your pH of your scalp is back to being acidic. And then you're going to see that, oh, I don't have to wash my hair tomorrow because the oil stopped producing. I don't have to wash my hair in the next 3 days because oil stopped producing, right? And so when your scalp is also hydrated now, your scalp is not irritable. Okay. It's just like having like a dry, patchy thing on your skin, or when you cut yourself and then it starts healing and it becomes a little bit itchy because
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable, especially if you're not using lotions to hydrate it, right? It becomes less irritable, and then you have like less oil production. And obviously when certain hormones get activated when the seasons change, it is normal to have that oil come back because it's your body's reaction to the environment that's around. So when it becomes more cold, you're oh, it's cold, we need more oil. It's like, oh, I don't want this oil. Let me reacidify my scalp and do a detox, okay? And bring my hormones in alignment as well as my pH.
Wow. So how does one do a detox?
So we use bentonite clay at the salon. Obviously, there's different types of volcanic ashes. It is the purest form of earth on the planet. And so you use that to remove toxins from your body and rebalance your hormones. Cortisol is also a toxin, but it's produced in your body. And so we're able to remove that as well. So we use that. We also sometimes use neem oil. Neem oil is an antibacterial, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory oil that is found in India. And before, in ancient times, they used it as a contraceptive. So the males would take it, and it would stop their sperm from creating, making a woman pregnant, because they wouldn't be able to fertilize. Okay, because they prevent, making babies. Some people use it for their plants at home to prevent bugs from eating their plants. Because the less bacteria you have on something, the less likely it is to become infected. And so we use it on our clients for their detox. We mix it together with water, and then we apply it to their head, and then we put them under a dryer where there's going to be more blood circulation, so more toxins come out. And then we rinse, and then we go ahead with their hydrating shampoo after that. Before that, I've already removed silicones, petroleum, and other ingredients that block out water. Because if water can't get inside your hair can't become elastic. Your hair is going to be inflexible. It will break more, especially when your curls are more narrow. So I've already done that. I've already acidified the scalp, so the scalp can now fight back all the bacteria. And then after that, I would do the detox, dry, and then come back to the sink. And then I do your hydrating shampoo. And then I start putting in the products that are meant for your hair type. And then we dry for your curls. And then if you've booked a cut, we're doing the cut after that.
Wow. And so how long do you leave that bentonite clay on for under the dryer?
Depends on the case. So the more inflammation you have in your scalp, the longer it's going to be under the dryer. If you have a bacterial infection, the more I'm going to use neem oil in your hair. I'm going to put more neem oil in the solution and less bentonite clay in the solution, because we have to kill the bacteria. Okay.
Right. So you use the oil, mix it with the bentonite clay. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you would gauge what you're dealing with. If the person is saying they have hormones and stress issues, that's more toxins. If they're having hygiene issues, they've kept their hair wet for a long time, there's a lot of smell, there is redness, there is a lot of itching, that's bacterial. And so we would put more, that's based on your hygiene.
That's more neem oil.
More neem oil, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then for other people, we could also use castor oil based solutions, because castor oil, very, very well known in the islands, the Caribbean islands, especially in Haiti. They call it palmas kitty. And that is an antitoxin. It's an oil that's antitoxin. So usually if their arm is hurting, their legs are hurting, they will rub that oil on it and then either take a shower or wipe it off. Because once something absorbs something, you don't want it to reabsorb back into the skin. And that's why these things are not just kept overnight. We don't do overnight treatments that are antitoxin or antimicrobial, because you don't want it to reabsorb back into the skin.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. I cannot believe that you have solutions for, hair that can grow back, even those shiny bald. And then you have a solution for, people with really oily scalps, dandruff scalps. And actually, I do have one question, because I had COVID a little while ago, and I lost about 75% of my hair. And a lot of my girlfriends actually lost hair, and my clients too lost hair after, but they lost hair for maybe 2 to 4 weeks. I lost my hair for longer. And so
that means your cortisol production didn't decrease.
My cortisol, which?
Your cortisol production didn't decrease.
I see.
Mm-hmm. Whereas they were able to have that decrease way faster, you were not able to do that. And a lot of the fight is a mental fight.
Oh, exactly. I mean, so many of the ones that are losing their hair, of course, we're going to be, more worried. And so, of course, the cortisol's there. It's like, doctor's like, well, try not to worry. I'm like, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, doctor.
I'm just losing, like, I can see my scalp now. Of course,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to not worry, right? So,
But also, like, I don't want to prick and prod, but wearing elastics and ponytails and
mhm,
pulling your hair in one direction. So
yes,
if you have cowlicks, your hair separates naturally and it falls down, right? It's going in multiple directions. If you're
yes.
pulling it always in the same direction, you're going to lower the blood circulation because it's going to be concentrated around the extremities and less in the middle.
Mhm.
You're going to cause breakage because you're also Asian, so your hair is naturally low elasticity. Okay, and so when you're pulling it in one direction, when it wants to go in another direction, and it doesn't have enough moisture inside of the hair strand, that will cause breakage. And once it starts breaking, then it will start splitting. And when it splits, it will break all the hairs around it. And when it's constantly in a ponytail, it's able to do more work because it's so close to the other hair strands.
Wow. So even though the hair, that one hair, the ones that are all around it, that gets affected too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
Well, it's
So
like a
does,
weed. It's a weed in the garden. It will
wow.
affect all the
Really?
all the flowers around it.
I can't
All
believe
the
that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. We
So,
like yeah, once you get down to the crux of it, we're just like a plant.
well, I don't want to make it a sin to put my hair in a ponytail. Like, is a scrunchie better, or is it just like, do a ponytail for an hour and then let it down for an hour? Or,
I think with for my clients, obviously it was really hard for them to let go of slick buns. Some of them cannot cornrow their hair or put it in twists. All those African cultural things that we like doing with our hair, a lot of people cannot do and should not do because their diameter size is too fine. Once your diameter size is as fine as it could go, unfortunately, you cannot afford to do certain styles, even if those styles are ingrained in the culture that you were brought up in. And it might sound very offensive when I start telling you you cannot cornrow, you cannot braid, you cannot put your hair in certain styles, you cannot do extensions, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. They might be very angry with me, but because
mhm.
track record, they will listen to me for a good 6 months. And if nothing changes, they're going back to what they were doing. But I can only promise you the results that my clients have had. And I personally have over 10,000 clients. And so I've repeated this so many times that I could trust my word on that. If your hair is very fine, I could see it in the screen. So I'm
Mhm.
able to analyze your curl ID and then come up with your treatment plan, right? As I'm seeing you. And one of them would be never to wear a ponytail ever again. If you're if you're going to put your hair up, you would have to either clip it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right. Out. Let it go.
It's just gonna be a mess, but that's okay. I'm
That's
beyond
okay.
the
That's okay.
wow.
And
Mhm.
yeah, I would definitely stop thinning out your hair to do any
Mhm.
kind of style. And I would concentrate on locking in the moisture with your curls and having your hair grow out. Um, you
Like
need
grow longer,
protein.
you mean?
You need protein treatments to thicken each one of your hair strands. I
Wow.
don't. Yeah, like a protein, hydrolyzed proteins are for the outside of your hair, and amino acids is for the inside of your hair. So whatever
That's like
change.
apple cider vinegar, right?
No, 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 no. Okay, so apple cider vinegar is for the pH. Right now,
Okay.
for your scalp. Now I'm
I mean,
talking
I thought
about
that had
your
to
hair.
be an example.
Yeah, your hair needs the
Yeah.
protein because first you've lost 75% of your density. So your hair is not used to not having a mass of hair around it. So it will get drier. And so you need to be able to retain more moisture. And the only way you would be able to do that would be to thicken each one of your hair strands by using proteins and fusing that on your hair with heat.
Oh, and what kind of proteins are you using?
So always vegetable based. You never want to use any animal products in your hair. Why? Because they have to use a lot of acids to break down those proteins in an animal. And because they use so much acids, that ends up making the product way more drier for your hair. So all of a sudden you have to rinse it out. But if you already cause that dryness and you need those proteins to fuse to your hair, well, the acid will still be there. It'll still be linked to the protein, no matter how many times they tell you that it's not part of the protein. And so you only go for vegetable-based, legume-based, peas, wheat, any one of those things for hydrolyzed proteins. And then you would go with amino acids, as many as amino acids as possible. We have 18 amino acids in our hair. The protein treatment that we use has at least 11 amino acids in their product. So something that's very efficient, something has the most, I'm mixing up my French words, acide aminé, and I just used the word in English, but amino acids. And it has 5 hydrolyzed types of proteins. So we don't know which ones are gonna bond the best. And so it's best to have a lot more types of proteins in the product itself. And it tends to be on the more pricier side. So pricier for natural hair products, which is not that pricey in general. So ours is about $45, which is the most expensive product in the store. And that is like, I've seen $300 conditioners that are the same makeup of all the other conditioners that's out there. So definitely better on your budget for sure. It doesn't have to break the bank to be good, but it has to be made in a laboratory.
You got to buy. You can't do a home remedy with this, right?
It's not a home remedy type of thing. It has to be tested multiple times on multiple people in order to know that it has the best results. It cannot be made at home because unfortunately people do not know how to preserve these things. And you need preservatives in a product because you do not want bacteria to start growing. And this is why I don't recommend like rice water things, because unfortunately rice water is a fermented product. Fermentation means bacteria, just like, right? And we don't put food on our hair because we cannot preserve its elements without triggering the natural bacteria that we have on our head and having them procreate and make babies and make the situation worse. We don't want fermentation also because those things are very alkaline in nature. And when they're alkaline, they could make your hair straighter. It becomes like a relaxant, right? So instead of using fermented things to have shinier, softer hair, we would go with just heat up your hair, put enough water in it, it will become soft.
Wow. That's good to know. Yeah, I heard about rice water. There's a village in China. I don't know if you know about that village, and everyone's got their hair long. I mean, like,
because their hair is low elasticity, what they ended up doing as a culture is being like, okay, our hair is hard. Okay, our hair is low elasticity. How do we make it softer? So they use alkaline products to for the disulfide bonds in their hair to make them looser. That's how they're doing it. They're not using dryer heat. They're using something else to make their hair more elastic, so it can be more manageable and grow instead of be breaking. And also, when it's more elastic, it allows more water to get inside their hair, so they have less scalp issues. Instead of water just slipping down their hair because of the low elasticity, water not being able to get inside their hair very easily. That's why they use that. It's a cultural thing, but it solves a very practical issue for them. But does not solve all the issues. It actually creates other issues.
Right, because then that bacteria stays on that rice water. Like, I mean, how long do you leave that on anyway for? They just don't even rinse it out, I think.
Yeah, so I'm not going to argue with cultural norms for Asian people, but I will tell them they would have to do an apple cider vinegar after the fact to bring back the pH down. And they would have to still heat up their hair in a way that clumps their hair together as much as possible.
Wow, I had no idea it's a team thing as well. Like hair is a team.
Yeah, it's a team sport. And the thing is, because I've done so much research and separated my clients based on ethnicity to find out exactly what was going on with their team. What are you going through? What's happening with your hair? Why do you all have similar issues? And it's true. Most is if you're going with the Indian culture, they're using a lot more oils, a lot more Ayurvedic things, but oils do not hydrate, right? They oversaturate the hair. It's the same thickness in terms of diameter sizes as in terms of Asian culture. So they still have but they have less oily scalp because their hair is much curlier. And they live in a different kind of climate that's more hot and humid. And so it works better for the environment of their scalp. So they're going to have less oily scalp issues. But in terms of the thickness of their hair, they have similar thicknesses.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think it's interesting going back to, how you call my hair fine hair. Like,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
never thought myself as someone with fine hair because like that thick Asian hair. I mean,
But you
mind
have
you,
a lot of it. You
my hair
had you
has-
had density, but
yeah.
each individual hair strand is fine. So that's
Wow.
why, like, the thing is, once you have our curl ID, we have curl type. There's 4, wavier to curly, curly, curly. Then you have porosity, how your hair absorbs water through the cuticles. You have elasticity, how your hair absorbs water and distributes those waters inside. Is it closer together? Is it further apart? Those water molecules or those bonds. Then you have density, which is the quantity of hair that you have on your head.
That's right.
Which is different to the diameter size of each individual hair strand. And then you have curl pattern. Is it shaped like an S or is it shaped like a C? And that will instruct you how much your hair is going to shrink. So we'll know how to cut your hair. If it's a C pattern, we know to cut less. It's an F pattern. I know in certain areas I should cut more so that the cut lasts the longest. So you don't have to come back to the salon every 2 months, but you could spread out your services because, well, I had to because it was based on need for me specifically because I have over 10,000 clients and I can't see you every 2 months. It's just not practical for me. So I had to make a way for my cuts to last the longest. So my clients could be satisfied and they could retain more length and they could have several cuts while it's growing out that look good.
Wow. I'm curious to know why you said earlier, like to grow out my length. What does it do again?
Okay, well, because you have 75% of your hair that's missing,
And it's growing.
you cannot retain water the same way as your hair is retaining water now. Your curls will not clump in the way that it would clump if you had more hair strands because you were made to have 75% more hair.
That's correct.
Right? So it has to be normal to, your head. And so you need all of those hair strands because your hair is so fine. It doesn't have the fridge capacity to retain so much water. It really relies on all the surrounding hair strands to keep as much water near to itself so it can have moisture exchange.
Wow. I'm just looking